Chicago, like most big cities, has its fair share of unsolved crime. And in most of these cases, somebody saw or heard something. It could be a suspicious person, a car driving away from the scene, or simply overhearing somebody talking about the case. With your help, we can put these criminals behind bars where they belong. Here in Chicago, we have too many unsolved murders. We need your help. In these cases, the police department is only as strong as the citizens that get involved. Oftentimes, all the detectives need is a tip, a start. Somebody to call in and say, I saw something. Any little information that you know can be the impetus to solve the entire case. On tonight's episode, we'll be featuring the case of C.J. Brown. On July 14th, 2015, C.J. Brown, a charismatic father of a young son, was leaving work. He took the bus, got off the bus, and was walking through his neighborhood when he was approached by a few individuals who attempted to rob him. When C.J. resisted, several shots were fired. Here's his story.
He came into this world and on my wife and I's 4th anniversary, and I was really happy that that happened, you know, that I have a son.
CJ was energetic, and he was just as handsome as he could be.
He was a great baby. He was really cool, you know, just like with every dad, you know, you're like, yeah, I got a son, it's my first son, you know, I'm gonna teach him everything I know, and he picked up things pretty quick, you know, as far as walking and crawling and starting to speak, and I just remember Dada, you know.
Growing up with CJ was really good because we was always running around playing jokes on each other or trying to outdo each other. Like CJ, he loved to flip, and we would get into competitions with the neighbors. So I'd be like, well, my cousin, he could flip from here to there, and you know, because he literally could flip from one end of the block to the next end of the block without stopping.
He did the Jesse White tumblers, and he would just tumble up and down the street. Back flips, back bends, all kind of stuff.
When CJ walked into a room, it was great. He light up a room, you know, because he had kind of a deep voice, and when I was here and he walked into a room and he'd see me, it was like, what's up, Pops? People really clung to that, you know, and he was a jokester, and he liked to make people laugh, although a lot of his jokes weren't really funny, but he tried it anyway.
He loved to build, he loved to explore, he loved to do a lot of things. A shelf that needs to be put together or some work around the house, like he would paint, he would put doors up. CJ would do everything.
He would come down to my house and he said, Auntie, what you doing? How you doing? I just want to say hi. You got something you want me to do? Take the garbage out or what? Something like that. No, I'm good.
He'll stop by his grandma's house and check on her and make sure everything's okay with her. And if the refrigerator needed something done to it, or if we had to move the stove or anything.
He picked up quite a few personality traits from me. He had gotten into more carpentry, a lot of things that I had taught him, and it was a good learning experience for both of us, him being my first and only son, and then just to pass on some of those things, you know, made me feel good. He was really trying to find his way, his niche. I do know outside of UPS, he did work with a gentleman here locally here in Harvey, rehabbing houses. So I was hoping he would move that direction if that was something he really enjoyed. And when he lived with me and he worked for me, he'll get up, he'll take a shower, he'll go out and he'll just breathe in a little bit of air. He'll come and say, I'm ready, Pop.
It seems like to me, every time I see him, I see the baby.
Whatever he could do with his son, he would do, like take him to the park. And you know how they have the bike with the car seat on the back of it for the babies to get on it? Every time his son sees the bike, he'd be like, He'd point at the bike and he'd be ready to go.
They would ride up and down my block, and there you go. You want something? Clarence Tyler, you want me to get you anything? Ain't we just cooling out? I said, okay, have fun.
Clarence and his son, Tyler, he's a really, really good dad. From the moment he was born, he's been right there. Wherever Clarence was, Tyler was there with them. And I watched him, he turned out to be an excellent dad. He's changing dirty diapers and he's making bottles, man, and he know how to wrap them and fold them and you reuse the tape to lock them in place.
CJ was the strongest out of everybody. He was always strong. I never thought I would lose my big cousin like that.
On July 14th, 2015, at approximately 4:34 in the morning, officers heard approximately 4 shots fired coming from the east. While traveling about a mile from that location, an officer sees a victim, later identified as CJ Brown, stumbling and then falling onto the intersection right at 153rd and Turlington.
Have you been in an accident? Have you been the victim of discrimination or had your rights violated? Have you been injured? If so, the lawyers at Hale Law would love to talk to you. We offer a free consultation. Call me, Andy Hale, 312-870-6926. 312-870-6926. I look forward to talking with you about your case.
He spent the night at my house. My daughter they were on the front porch and they was just sitting out in the front, beautiful evening, and they were talking.
And I was rebraiding his hair, getting him ready to go to work and everything, and we was talking, and he was telling us how he wanted a better life for him and his son, and so we had all made plans for the whole family to pack up and get food and everything, go to the resort and everything.
That was the last time he was alive that I saw him and talked with him and joked with him.
We was just having so much fun that day, and we was all getting along, and there wasn't no problems or nothing like that. And then he said he was getting ready to go lay down, go to sleep for a couple hours before he went to work, and then he went to work.
He was actually getting off work at UPS. The bus typically arrives at the station at 4:15. From there, he makes his way home on foot.
He had gotten off work from UPS early one morning.
That particular night, he was walking eastbound on 154th Street, then went north on Turlington.
He was cutting through the neighborhood to go home, came across 2-3 gentlemen. They tried to rob him, and I guess he wasn't having it, and they shot him.
At 04:34 in the morning, while officers were responding to a separate call for service at 153rd and Page, they heard 4 separate gunshots to the east of them. They reacted almost as if it's an in-progress call. They immediately tried to locate the source of the shots fired. One of the officers traveling east at about a mile and a half away, located a victim.
He stumbled maybe 20 feet trying to find some help or get away, and he was found on the streets of Harvey.
Staggering at the intersection of 153rd and Turlington until he finally collapsed right at the intersection. When the officer saw this victim collapse, he immediately called rescue services.
I'm pretty sure he was pretty much gone at the time, but of course they're gonna do all they can to, bring him back or help save his life.
They said it was a critical condition and they was working on it and trying to fight it, and he was a fighter and he was fighting through it.
The officer spoke to the victim. That time he relayed to him that he was robbed. He did say that they tried to rob me. Immediately, rescue services arrived on scene.
And then that's when we got the phone call.
My sister, Annie, she called me early that morning, maybe about 5 o'clock or so. She said, "Liz, did you talk to Tina, his mom?" I said, "No, I haven't." And I said, "What's the matter?" You can hear nervousness in her voice. She said, "Tina said that Clarence Tyler got shot last night coming home from work." My daughter was at the house, and I had to wake her up. And so I said, "Mary, I said, CJ got shot. What? He did what? I said, Mary, he died. They shot him dead.
They took CJ Brown to the hospital where he expired during surgery.
His mom just got up and she started yelling and everything, and she was like, he had got shot, and we was all running around with our heads cut off, trying to hurry up and get to the hospital and everything. But unfortunately, he didn't make it, and it tore us all apart. We was all...
I called his dad, and I told him that he needs to come home quickly. Tina says this is too much.
I was up getting ready for work, and his mother had called me and said, CJ's been shot. And she was like, well, they're taking him to a hospital now. She's not sure what's going on. And as a father, I'm thinking, well, maybe whatever happened, maybe he was shot in the arm or the leg or something, and it's minor. He'll be back on his feet in no time. I called my boss. I told him, look, I have to go to Chicago. My son's been shot. And I got another call. And they told me he didn't make it.
His stomach, the inner part of his stomach there, or the kidney or something wasn't working well, and they couldn't bring him through that.
I knew I shouldn't have been driving at the time, but I just had to pull over to the nearest stop and kind of had a breakdown. And it was just tore me apart. Tore me apart. Am I really going through this right now? Am I standing in the shoes of a parent's worst nightmare? Yeah.
On July 14, 2015, at 4:34 in the morning, officers were responding to a non-related call for service at 153rd and Page. At that time, officers heard approximately 4 shots fired coming from the east of that location. Officers attempt to locate the origin of those shots by traveling east for about a mile. At that time, they see a victim staggering at the intersection of 153rd and Turlington, where they eventually fell. That victim was later identified as CJ Brown.
I was just torn apart. I didn't know what to do. How do a parent respond to something like that?
It hurt my feelings because I had to go out there and tell his little brother, because his little brother wasn't in the room when everybody found out. So I had to go out there and break it to him. And as I'm breaking it to him, I have to break it to his uncle because his uncle's calling me on the phone. His brother took it so hard, he about passed out in the hallway, and it was just so bad. It was just really, really bad.
It was really, really hard to hear that he had died, and then he died such a terrible death.
When CJ Brown is taken to the hospital, detectives are notified. At that point, myself, other detectives, and patrolmen canvassed the area to look for any possible surveillance and any possible witnesses. The patrolmen did rope off the crime scene so that the detectives in the investigation division can go to work. We did recover several .223 shell casings at the scene. Based off of the evidence we were able to collect, we can surmise that the weapon used in the homicide was a rifle.
When someone tells you, you'll never hear your son's voice again, I can't come here and say, hey, I brought you a cigar too, man. Sit down, let's talk. We had that. That's what we had. We get together, we'll have a beer, and we'll smoke a cigar, and we'll just talk. Never did we think about what happens when I'm not here, or what happens if you're not here. It's just something you don't talk about with your kids. You expect your parents to go before you, never the other way around.
To this day, Tyler still asks us about his dad and everything, and he has moments where he goes and sits in the corner and he takes his dad's photo and he sits there and he cries sometimes, or he just hold his photo and like talk to him and look out the window or whatever, and he don't want to be bothered by anybody. And you know, I hate that. I hate that has to happen. A lot of people out there that don't take care of their kids like he did, and I hate for that to have to happen to him.
My grandson, I could see some traits, they looked alike. I can listen to Tyler speak, and he reminded me of CJ when he was that small.
I miss him terribly, terribly bad.
No witnesses on site, further canvass, still no witnesses. Given the time of day, it wasn't uncommon for there to be not many people out. Given the proximity of town, it was mostly residential. There is a church on the same block where CJ walked. We were able to get a hold of the owners of the church pretty quick. However, surveillance wasn't functional at the time. Also, there was surveillance at an ATM that just captured movement of the route he took. And we can verify that he went past that ATM at a certain time, giving us the knowledge that he was on that street, that was his route home.
I went there the following day, and I could actually see a small amount of blood. I probably shouldn't have been there looking at that, but you know, with his parents and something like that, I just wanted to be there. It just haunted me.
Now that he's gone, it's just like, who's gonna take charge? It's like we're all looking at each other like, well, we gotta stick together. We still gotta keep his memory alive.
Now, for me, with him not around, sometimes I don't feel as secure, because he was like a bodyguard almost. He would always come by and check on me and ask if there's anything that he could do.
It tore our world all apart because we never thought that anything would happen to him or that he wouldn't make it or anything like that. That's my big cousin. Like, he was always around. I never thought that our family would go through something like this because we never had to go through anything like this before. So it was real bad.
I really, really miss him now. I just know that God had another plan.
I was lost. From then to this point, I think of my son every day. Have
you been in an accident? Have you been the victim of discrimination or had your rights violated? Have you been injured? If so, the lawyers at Hale Law would love to talk to you. We offer a free consultation. Call me, Andy Hale, 312-870-6926. 312-870-6926. I look forward to talking with you about your case.
On July 14, 2015, at 4:34 in the morning, officers were responding to a non-related call for service at 153rd and Page. At that time, officers heard approximately 4 shots fired coming from the east of that location. Officers attempt to locate the origin of those shots by traveling east for about a mile. At that time, they see a victim staggering at the intersection of 153rd and Turlington, where they eventually fell. That victim was later identified as C.J. Brown.
It's just tough going through life without him, knowing I can't see him or speak to him again. And if somebody had any information, you think you can help me, and any information you have, if you think it's not huge or big or it's minute and won't help, you never know. You never know. That could be the small piece of the puzzle that we need to bring someone to justice.
Anything that they could tell, that they could do to help this situation, I really, really, really wish that they would tell. Even if they don't want to say who they are or they want somebody else to say it, or reach out any way possible that they can do it. And I want justice for my cousin, and I want justice for his son, because his son has a long life to live without his father. So I really, really want justice for him.
I would love for them to call and report this, or come tell me, email me, text me, tell his father, bring it to the police station.
On the anniversary of CJ's death, his family comes out. There's a vigil at 153rd and Turlington. The family has offered a reward for any information leading to the arrest of CJ's killer. We would just love for the word to get out for anyone that may have any information to help us with the case.
I would hope you would call a Harvard Police Department and report anything you've seen. I have a cash reward set up, $500 reward.
That is some incentive for someone to come and share some information. I would think, we'd be just as discreet as we can.
I don't have to see who the money go to. You can deal directly with the police department. If you come up and someone's arrested and this money will go directly to you.
Based off of the proximity of where the crime took place, we can surmise that it could have been local. There's no big thoroughways, no busy streets. So we believe that it could have been some local suspects. We don't think that they ran very far. No suspect description, unfortunately. We do believe a rifle was used.
For the people who took CJ's life, I really want them to know what they did. They did a horrible, horrible thing that can never be taken back or anything, but it could help if you turn yourself in some. It will make us feel a little bit better.
Think about what you've done, not only to me, but the rest of his family members. And think about if something like that happened to a family member of yours. Wouldn't you want this person behind bars or before someone else loses a son, daughter, brother, or sister?
They have to realize that the Lord said you're going to reap what you sow. And I truly believe that.
Do what is right because you know that is right and you know what you did was wrong. And if anybody that knows the person that did it or they told them that they did it, then you know that you need to tell and do the right thing, because if it was your family and it happened to you like that, you would want somebody to come and tell.
I would wish they would turn themselves in. I really, really do, because God don't like ugly. Just reach out and tell someone, because we love and miss him so much.
If anyone has any information regarding the homicide of C.J. Brown, we're asking you to call Harvey Police Investigation Division at 708-331-2131. If you choose to remain anonymous, you can do so. It's been very traumatizing, to say the least, for the family. And absolutely any information or tips that we do receive would be very helpful.
If CJ was here right now, I'd tell him that he never taught me how to flip. I really wish he was still here, because we still need him. We got a lot of things we gotta do.
I would just grab him and I say, boy, where you been? Give me some sugars.
Exactly what I said to him the last time I spoke to him was, I love you and keep growing, man.
And I know his son miss him a lot too, and that's what tears me up the most. I wish he was here for him.
The cases featured on tonight's episode remain unsolved, and we need your help. If you have any information on tonight's episode or any of the cases featured on the show, please give the detectives a call. We need our communities to come together so we can take back our streets and make our neighborhoods safe again.